Hello and welcome to Black Tot Rum Club. My name is Mitch Wilson. I'm the global ambassador for Black Tot Rum, and today we're going to be speaking to a very, very special guest from the rum world. For those of you who are joining us for the first time at Black Tot Rum Club, it's a very new thing and something that we thought we'd do whilst we're not able to do all these masterclasses and sessions in person around the world. We thought we'd give you a preview and a sort of insight into some of the research that I've been doing behind the scenes and some of the incredible people in the rum industry that we're speaking to and trying to get their insights, and not your typical brand masterclass, but really asking some of the deeper questions behind Navy rum and rum in general. So today it is my great honor to introduce one of the pillars of the rum industry. This gentleman is born in Genoa in Italy, where he lives and runs Velier, one of the world's largest importers of independent spirits. He's really been pivotal in the rum industry over the last few decades, where he's introduced the world to some of the most amazing Demerara rums in the world. Caroni is a thing very much because of this gentleman. And he's also most recently introduced us into the wonderful spirit of Clairin from Haiti. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome to Black Tot Rum Club, Luca Gargano.
Ciao, how are you?
Ciao, Luca. Very well. How are you?
Very well. I am in Genoa in my new office.
Wonderful. So I had the pleasure. I was hosted by your team, by Deborah and Giovanni and Angelo, just before the lockdown happened, and they gave me a sneak preview of your office. It looks like there's a lot more rum in there now.
Yeah. Now it's a Velier paradise. We call our old office was named Villa Paradisetto, so small paradise. This is Velier paradise. We are in about 8 acres of Mediterranean forest on the sea in the downtown of Genoa. It's an incredible place. I am a little bit sunburned, as you can see, because I can speak in my terrace or in my gardens. But I have no employees, few employees here, and my business is down 80%, but I am very, very happy.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and it is beautiful. If you ever get the chance to go to Genoa and see the Velier paradise, it really is. It's one of the most incredible office views I've ever seen. We've got pretty comparable office views here in Park Royal, but not quite up to Velier standards there. So Luca, thanks so much. I wanted to start just by obviously I know within the rum elite, your name is often spoken from sentence to sentence. But for anyone who might be newer to the rum world or just starting out, I'd love to hear a bit of your backstory of how you first discovered rum. Because I understand from a talk you did with Kate Perry last week that you started as a brand manager at 18 and you had a multitude of different spirits. There was something about rum which caught your eye.
No, yes, when I was 18 years old, my first job in the biggest Italian importer, named the Spirit Ltd, S.p.A, was at that time name was product manager, brand manager at 18 years old of St. James Rum. And so I organized a contest for the sales force to go to Martinique. But that time, people thought my managers say, Luca, you are crazy. There was no the tourism, the inclusive tourism. First jumbo jet was 1975. At the end, I won. I did the contest. I doubled the sales of St. James, and first time I went in the Caribbean. And that time, no TV, no internet, and I've never seen palm trees before, apart in my town, but it's different. So when I arrived, I felt in love with the Caribbean and with rum. And so now are more than 45 years I am working with the rum and love rum.
So that's incredible. And one of the things that strikes me is back then when you were doing this 45 years ago, you said, the perception of rum must be completely different to what it is today. Like people nowadays are talking in rum forums about people are just starting to realize how amazing rum can be. So what was that like seeing that for firsthand?
Rum, not only 45 years ago, but until 15 years ago, less, probably 12 years ago, was still an ethnic spirit that was following the colonization. So in France, you drink only rum agricole. In Spain, they drank only Cuban and Dominican Republic rums. The UK drink mainly the Demeraras, British Royal Navy style. And so it was very, very ghetto, a ghetto. And in the 90s, when I started to import in Italy in the 1989, you had Bacardi, that was Bacardi was not really a rum, and a few cases of Appleton, 2 free agricole rums. When I started the rum Vida, I started to import the rum from all over the islands. It was really something new for Europe. We were the first democratic country to import and to show how was different the production in the Caribbean, but I was completely alone. You understand? For this reason, I was the importer of Santa Teresa, Brugal, Barcelo, Barilito, Gosling, El Dorado, and all the brands, and Bali, St. James, because there were no market, you understand? So for many years I was alone. It was my passion more than a business.
And what do you remember? Was there a distinct moment where you decided I'm going to become the rum guy, or I'm going to focus on this spirit even more than the others?
I told you. Fine. But in the 90s, my goal was, I am a merchant. And merchants could be egoist or altruist. My goal, my dream was to show, was not regarding the quality, was to show the different expression of rums in the different area. In the 90s, I was not selecting. No, I did already some selection. My first selection was 1991. But at that time, the Italian people didn't know that the Dominican Republic produced rum. So this was my pleasure. And then, thanks also to my history in wine, I created the first natural wine movement in the world, AAA. And in the meantime, I started to work with El Dorado in the 1995. I was the first importer in Europe with the UK. And when I saw first time the DDL stills like Portmorant, Versailles, and more, I say, wow. And in the meantime, I did my evolution in wine, so I was really concerned about the quality of the product. And in this moment, I understand that the DDL was a diamond that was not yet expressed really. And so I started to make the first and unique original Demerara distillery aging bottlings, was the 2001.
And some of those bottlings now, I mean, you have rum nerds around the world with Sheldon t-shirts and some of the most sought after rum bottlings ever. It's quite incredible. Ian's here, Luca. Yes, the rum god. Hey, Ian.
Thank you, Ian.
So I guess obviously today one of the things I really want to pick your brain on is the Navy rum world, and you've over the years you've championed some of the pillar components of those. So Demerara rums, obviously, which was a key component in Navy rums, and later Caroni as well. So I'm interested, at what point did Navy rum come on your radar? Was it a natural progression from Demerara rum, or was there a time where you really started to look into that more?
No, it's a little bit different. The British Royal Navy rum, the UK style, was a style of rum that Navy rum, they were in the colonialist time beginning, no? So UK had different colonies, and rum was aged in UK.
Mm.
If you read what they say it's better and better to age in UK than aged in the tropics, but it's normal. The seller was the UK people, not the Caribbean.
Yes.
What was interesting is that anyway, UK had rum from Barbados and rum from Jamaica, and rum from St. Lucia, from Trinidad, from Guyana, and also from Australia, from Mauritius, from many areas. So they did blend. So now, generally, they did blends of the UK colonies. Then the Navy rum was part of this thing, you understand? So it's in the history, and it's necessary to respect the history. Today, I am not a fan, as you know, of continental aging. Absolutely, I think now it's time to age in the distillery everywhere they are. But anyways, a very important history in rum is the Navy rum and also the UK, we can say, style, that was made with continental aging.
Absolutely. And that's coming back to some of your bottlings that you brought out of the world. I mean, you've obviously championed bringing distilleries to the forefront and really giving a voice and a name to a lot of distilleries that years before people probably wouldn't have known or recognised. But then you've also brought out some prominent Navy rum bottlings as well. So it's a little audio issues there.
Yes, but I have to, that I am very sincere now. So I don't tell what perhaps you think, but I am a talent scout, and I really respect the distillery in the Caribbean, because I went 45 years ago in the Caribbean, So I went when these people was selling in bulk their marks mainly to Europe. But when you have a friend since you was a baby, for all your life, you are friends, everything. So I adore the distillery tropical aging, and I helped. I think I did a lot for DDL that started in 1994 with El Dorado, to say, but you have to put your diamonds. At that time, there were already some continental bottling, but our bottlings, the DDL bottlings, were the first. And I pushed a little bit Jesu Perso to do this. And then I did with many other producers, and Foursquare, to make an example. I'm not an independent bottler. My love was, when I know Richard, is to show to the world, is my pleasure, is my attitude, to show to the world that Foursquare production is beside the best single malt, one of the best rum of the world. So we did something together, but our official bottling. Okay. Then, so this is all my job. When I did the Clairin, I didn't put my name, Monsieur Gargano. No, put Sajus is my style. Then my Velier Royal Navy is also a little bit a joke. Means that are blend of UK ex-colony rums, Commonwealth, but with the tropical aging, practically the second one totally, and the first one 90%. And we are pirates. We are not the official navy. So I show, say, look at what we do. We go to take some of the best rums produced in the UK island, and we do the Velier Royal Navy, that is pirates, is the rum of the new pirates. But I adore. But anyway, sometimes what I'm saying always, there is space for everything. And also Black Tot, to make an example, to continue a tradition. And especially when Sukinder bought the old stock of Black Tot, for me is so important, because perhaps were disappeared or was blended with other things. So the first Black Tot for me is a pillars in the rum history, and this is history. So the UK aging was for 200 years. So it is to be respected, but it's a different level, different plan. And the new Black Tot is a new version, is completely different than Black Tot 54.3, but it's also very interesting.
Yes, no, it is a completely different piece, isn't it? And of course, the last consignment, which started it all. Do you remember when you first tried that? When was that?
Yeah, I tried the first Black Tot, I think, during a Whiskey Live in Paris. And I think it was first time I met Sukinder.
Oh, really?
He didn't know me, but I recognized him. You know why? And Trinidad told me, this is Sukinder, the famous whiskey exchange, and so, and tasted the Black Tot. And Black Tot, the Black Tot of a British Royal Navy is very, very different than the last edition, but is the real one was what was in 1970 when was the last year that was the Tot, And a point of view profile to give you, because I speak with figures.
Yes.
The Black Tot 54.3 had a total congeners or 417.8 grams per hectoliter pure alcohol. 417, and the new one is 180.7. So the aromatic profile is different. And in fact, the new Black Tot that I find very, very well done. I think that you did a great job. I imagine with the share, and it's very harmonic. Many people told me in the beginning why I have this analysis with GC.
Hitler was talking about this story just earlier today.
Told me, we think there is a sugar, You make an analysis, there is no sugar in this product. It's a natural, is mellow naturally, and is an example how a rum can be soft without adding anything else than the rum. That rum have to be only rum. You understand? For me, if not, is a darbouille.
And this is an interesting point you make, because obviously the new Black Tot, we did 100% tropical aging for that one, whereas, as you say, the older Black Tot would have been almost entirely continental, or I guess aging in transport as well in the barrels as they went. And that's another question I wanted to ask you. So with your bottling so far for your Navy rum bottling, you've done the Tiger Shark 2 releases now, I believe, as well as the very old.
I did only two bottles, my pirates. Velier, I tell you, it's not British, it's Velier. We are pirates, we are black, we like Caribbean and everything. Here, I don't know, are two of my employees.
Oh, really? Fantastic. Who is it?
Was a very, very old, it's more than 20 years, the weighted average. And we put many different liquid from different distillery. The new Velier Royal Navy, that is also an example. This is tropical, 100% tropical, but I didn't put the name. Why? Because I think the independent bottler, as in the past, they mainly create a brand. They don't use sometimes they say Jamaica or say Lemon Heart, Demerara rums, but many times not. So if you are independent bottlers, you are a good taster, you are a good blender, you have to do your brand as Myers, to make an example, Myers didn't tell you if it was a Hamden, Worthy Park, or any others. No, it's Myers. So you build, if you believe in you. So I say, this is Velier Royal Navy. I don't want to tell you what is inside, not because it's a secret, because this is my blend. This is my product. It's not exactly the same product of the two distilleries that are inside this product. You understand? So I say Tiger Shark. And all these two rums are vatted rum, so come from different distilleries, but from the Caribbean. You understand? What is interesting to see in the Black Tot, to give you, I don't know if you have this information, that the Black Tot, the original, we say, the British Royal Navy Black Tot, the 54.3, is very, very low in esters. It's very similar. To give you an example, the total esters of the Black Tot 1, we can say the historical one, is a 63.1, and the ethyl acetate, that is one type, is a 58.3. So is ethyl acetate 58.3 plus 5 grams of other esters, totally 63. And this one, the new one, the elixir, I don't know if it's elixir or if it's elixir or zucchini anyway, it's always zucchini, it's 31. So that means that in the old Black Tot, there was no funky Jamaican rum, because the ester could not be at this level, you understand? But probably some common cleans from Jamaica or no Jamaica inside.
And this is one of the interesting things, looking into the Navy rum background more and what went into that blend, because I think a lot of bartenders, a lot of people have been, sort of sold the story that it was just Trinidad or Guyana or just the English ports, but it really was, as you said at the start, a much wider ranging blend. And interestingly to see, like some of the research that I know Matt Petrek's been doing and looking into some of the letters from the Admiralty, and showing that Jamaican rum itself was phased out of the blend, and they actually said it's too intense and wanted to switch over to other islands.
I know very well the history since many years. No, history is different. What means Jamaican rum? Jamaican rum, you could not speak about Jamaican rum, because you know very well that Trelawney rum was the highest rum and surely was not used in any Navy rum, because first of all, profile was completely different. Secondly, it was too expensive. It's impossible to use a Long Pond or a Hamden in a rum that at the end of the story was food for the army, So it was not to find the Skeldon 1978. But you had also other rums in Jamaica, the common cleans and the Weatherbrook and Plummer style, we can say, that come from a mark from Weatherbrook and Mr. Weatherbrook and Mr. Plummer. They were rum with less and less esters. So if we go back to Navy rum, I think that if sometimes there was a part of Jamaican rum was not surely the super famous Trelawney rum, was a common clean. So ester lower and lower and lower. Only once during the Second War, in fact, I had some barrels of something that was bottled in 1954, and they did the analysis as 1,200 grams, because for a short period, probably during the Second War, there was a part of a Navy rum bought from Jamaica. If not, Jamaica is was too expensive, too top to put in a product that was gave at plus of a beer, before it was beer, and then arrived a rum. So honestly, it was a popular product for everybody. But that time, all the rums were very good because sugarcane was without chemicals, the weather, air was fantastic, no satellite, and stills were distillation very, very nice. So when you taste the old rums, are astonishing because come from another world. It's like the Clairin today also.
This came up in one of the rum forums recently where, oh, still got mic issues. Little feedback there.
Don't very well.
Any better? Yeah, one of the questions that came up on one of the rum forums recently, someone said, "Oh, I've never tried Rust Consignment, but I can't imagine it's very good because they would have just been drinking base level stuff." And I sort of said, "Well, yeah, to a certain extent, yes, but their base level was Port Morant straight from the still and Caroni and rums that we would now freak out over, and that was their standard back then." So.
At that time, we had not multi columns. So it was impossible to put in a navy rum, and also in a UK the OVD, a multi-column ethanol rums. All the rums came all from coffee still or from pot still.
Yeah,
patent still the column, but were column very artisanal, So it's
their worst rum would have still been amazing.
It's a fantastic experience. That was me that said that. Yes, Josh, I don't know.
It was Josh who said, "Oh, I can't imagine they had very good rums." So thank you, Josh, for following up. So
I said what I tell. I learned this about 30 years ago. So
yeah, wonderful. And so I wanted to actually follow on with that. Obviously, the Gargano classification system that you've come up with for rum, which is a progression. I was only reading just the other day that you originally came up with the English, Spanish, French classification, and then this is a replacement and an update. Was it you who started the English, Spanish, French originally?
I did the first basic, very basic classification in 1997 for Metro. Metro is a cash and carry macro in Germany. Metro is a big cash and carry chain. And they asked me in 1998 the classification I did, the Spanish style, French style, English style, and Demerara. This was 22 years ago. Then little by little I understood that this classification was not fitting the reality, because in Martinique, in Guadeloupe, you have a molasses rum, you have a Grand Arôme, you have columns, you have stills, you have everything. So I was studying. This is a simplification, honestly, of a Gargano rum classification. Very reality. We have to understand how many minutes we have, because I don't know if I can speak deeply.
As long as you want, Luca, I think to a certain extent. We'll try and give you some points.
I can finish tomorrow morning. No, it's very important. Now it's first time that in public I explain my classification in the details.
Amazing.
First of all, the most important thing in every spirit, in every edible product, is the raw material. And this is very understatement, under considered. Sometimes I tell something a little bit strong. I say, if you distill an angel, you will have an archangel. But if you distill a shit, you will have a shit and a second power, you understand? The raw material is fundamental. So in the raw material, in rum, we have at least 6 big categories of rums, from fresh pure sugarcane juice, from cooked juice, from syrup, and syrup depends how you make the syrup, as Zacapa or as Clairin. There is a big difference if you cook with direct fire or if you make it. And then you have with vinasse and syrup. You have a fresh sugarcane juice with vinasse. You have molasses of different levels, grade A, B, C, and different things. You have also, like in Triloni, you use vinegar. So there are so many differences already in the raw material. Then this raw material could be organic, not organic, could be cultivated in monoculture, can be cultivated among, like Haiti, with the palm trees and other things, Then there are all the varietals of hybrids, and there are sugarcane not hybrid, like crystalline, or some still Rubanet in Martinique, very few. And then you have the hybrids. In the hybrids, you have the B, that is Barbados breedings, and you have many others. So as the Can Bleu, to make an example, of the B47.259. So there are so many differences. And these make fantastic rum. And then you have a fermentation. Fermentation is enormously different from industrial fermentation, 24 hours. But you use selected yeast, but then you need the nutrients. There are many things that is necessary to speak about. There are the nutrients, enzymes that you have to add, anti-foaming sometimes, because during fermentation you risk that the foam go out, or you can make with wild yeast. You can make the alcoholic fermentation from 24 hours to 12, 13, 15 days. You can use wild yeast. And then you have the dead wort, because you can make also bacteric fermentation, as for instance in Triloni and other regions. So there are so many categories and difference, and this is fantastic. And this a know-how is the output of a savoir-faire. Savoir-faire means to be able to do something, you know. And then you have a distillation. But you could have the best crystalline sugarcane juice, just cutted. Then depends when you cut, you understand, and when you ferment. This is another point very important. If you left 1 week the sugarcane on in front of a crushing, there is fermentation. So you have to go very fast. And this is very important for agricole rums. You have to cut and go crush and ferment. But you could have the best crystalline sugarcane from Haiti. You can make the longest perfect fermentation. And then you put all this in a multi-column, you will have ethanol. You understand?
Yes.
You have only ethanol. So for this reason, in my classification, but it's important to understand my classification, because this is during distillation that you could cancel all the work did before by the farmers and by the artisans. You understand? For this reason, distillation, when the multi-columns, my real difference in classification is industrial rum and artisanal rum. Okay, then you can divide pure single rum or single rum, single blended, traditional column, multi-column, because the distillation make the difference. So you can destroy or upgrade the work that was made in the fields and then in the fermentation area. You understand? This is the reason why is the distillation and the hardware you use for distillation that make the difference, but it's not the difference. You understand?
Yes.
So many difference. And then how you age this product, how you reduce going the barrel, very important. Because when you are a continental bottlers, you could not decide the aging of a product, because you have already who decide is the distiller. You understand? Because I've distilled at 82%, could reduce in the barrel or give you but so there are so many difference. My classification, to answer better to your question, is regarding only the rum from distillery. There is another part. No distillery statement is different. You understand? Is another classification. It's completely different. My classification is for distillery products that were distilled, fermented, aged at the distillery. And the reason, I repeat, excuse me, the last time, why is the distillation is distillation, because in distillation you can destroy or upgrade the work made before. You understand? So you can't use another. I tell you, this is a long high ester fermentation rum. But then if I distill, I repeat, in a multi-column, what means? Nothing. I use, this is organic crystalline sugar, pure sugar cane, but I do a finish. So distillation is the benchmark, and then you subdivide, as in every other spirit. You can subdefine everything. You can say a single malt Campbelltown, the region, foolproof, cask strength, finishing, local barley. This is normal.
So, Luca, for a Navy rum, then, if this applies to a distillery, how would we then classify a Navy rum? Would we be able to use excerpts from this? Would you just put it as a blended rum, or would there be some specific category that you use with multi-distilleries?
Vatted rum.
Vatted rum.
Because single blended is a category existing only in rum. Because in the distilleries, it's possible that you still have the pot still, the batch distillation, and the continuous distillation with traditional column. In this case, I call it single blended, you understand? Single means is a blend made by the distillery, blending in the barrels, spirits, rum coming from batch distillation and continuous traditional distillation. Regarding the Navy rum, for me, my name is vatted rum. When you use different sources of rums, you understand? Vatted rums. But if one day somebody make only from a batch distillation, will be vatted pure rum.
Right. Yes. And
because pure, the word pure that is forbidden, for instance, in US, was born when Charles Gordon, the owner of William Grant's, so Glenfiddich and Balvenie, started to bottle the single malt. Means what means the pure single malt? What are the pure single malt? Are batch distillation whiskey. This is the real difference. Not only barley. This is not important. The pure single malt are only 100% batch distillation, so artisanal distillation. And when you say pure, pure was only from my distillery and my pot still. Pure, this was the meaning. Pure means not blended with the column. You understand? Was why he used this word pure single malt. Now pure, they put apart because the legislation say what means pure and blah blah blah.
Because one thing that a lot of people have said about regarding the classification here is in terms of, is it a hierarchy? Are we saying that, because pure pot still is at the top, are we saying that's number one, everything else is beneath that? Or
excuse me, it's not in the top. I don't agree with this. What I think is, dear Matt, is to help the rum lovers or the spirit lover to choose the right product. My philosophy is transparency. You understand? So a bottle, a label, you have to understand before buying, because when you buy, you have already spent the money. You can't go back as with the shoes, different numbers. You buy and you pay. First you pay, so you buy and then you drink. So my classification is not really the best or not the best. There is space for everybody. Because there is more people that goes to McDonald's than to a 3-star Michelin. And they prefer to eat. My daughter yesterday, they say, Papa, give me an hamburger. I don't give a McDonald's hamburger. I come from a cow that I know. But anyway, There is space for everything and for everybody. But if I want a sweetened rum, and I am probably a liqueur lover, to make an example. And so I want a rum that look like a liqueur. I would like to understand when I buy, say, 20 grams of sugar. Fantastic, is my product. I am a single malt lovers. Probably I will choose a pure single malt, a pure single rum. You understand? But perhaps a single blended could be better. Many times, Richard C, to make an example, why do the single blended? Because I think it's better a mix, a blend in the barrel between pot still, batch distillation, and from his coffee still. So this is de gustibus non est disputandum, means in Latin, you can't judge the taste. But if I go to buy a sea bass, I want to buy a sea bass and not a soul. You understand? So I want to understand. It's only for me, there is not the better or no better. Personally, I prefer. Normally, I prefer artisanal product. But for me, to make an example, is also important, as I told you before, the raw material. You understand? I think the future, the spirit business, for the reason that spirits are also produced in big quantities, so you could not make an organic mainstream product. But the future will be smaller distillery, and we have already many examples in whiskey, in Irish whiskey, also in rum, where you look to the raw material is very, very important. You understand? Then everybody likes what he likes. If you call Black Tot rum, what I understand have to be a little bit a navy rum. You understand? For me, a navy rum is a blend of continental rums. Okay? Many, many years ago was 100% pot still or a traditional column. Today could be also different. For me, the most important is to maintain in a blend, in a vatted rum of navy, different origins, because this is the history. You understand? You had St. Lucia, the UK had many islands in the Caribbean. So a navy style is a rum that put together all a part of this island, for instance. If you make only a Jamaican, I don't think it's okay if you do only Barbados. And then the new Black Tot is the 21st century version of the old one. Because 200 years ago, all rum was made in pot still, but they didn't use the Trelawney rum because it was too expensive. Because you put 5% in a potato spirit and some caramel, you make a rum, as did the Germans. So price of a Trelawney rum was sometimes more than the double and triple of a standard rums. Also, if it was a double retort pot still rums. So the old navy rum was a popular rum, not to be too cost too much to the queen or the king, but all the rum was fantastic that time. Today, Black Tot for me, and I don't make marketing. I am not paid by you. I tell always the truth. When I tasted Black Tot, I say, "Wow, they did a great job, great job." And also the price positioning, I find is very interesting for its quality. And this is a real rum. This is a very, very. When I received this analysis, I don't know if I have the date. Yes, I did the 5th September 2019. See, I paid also the Velier Villa Paradisetto. 5 September 2019. When I received because when I tasted, they say no sugar, without analysis, and then I was happy. But I had some friends, very close friends in business, that say, no, there is a sugar. No, it's very harmonic, very, very well done. Great job.
Thank you very much. One of the things that we're I get really proud of. Obviously, it's lovely to have your wonderful this there. And so we're still having some feedback issues there. I don't know why that's coming through. But one of the next topic I sort of want to go on, you touched on before earlier, was with the difference between tropical and continental aging, and obviously so many of your bottlings champion tropical aging. And then recently you did an interesting partnership with Shear, which I thought was a fascinating bottling release. We've got some of them here where you did the 11-year comparisons and the 14-year comparisons of tropical versus continental. And obviously, continental plays a lot into the Navy rum story, as we already mentioned before. So is this, are we likely to see any more continental experiments from Velier or forays into this world, or was this just a one-off?
Stipe Vucetic. Dobro, Vucetic speaker. Dobro. Full dobro. Is Veritas a Navy rum? It's not a rum, it's a rum. A little bit Navy in the sense is Jamaican and Barbados. Is the first vatted rum, blended rum made in the tropics without any colorant. But the slight color that have this rum is made because Richard, that is the blender, Richard Seal, added some a little bit of aged rum, of Foursquare aged. And why you have to decoloring? This is a real color, you understand? Many white rums are made also with aged rum. Also for legislation is necessary in some countries. But then they decolorate because white, dark, this is stupid. You don't buy a chicken because I have a white or a feather. How is the name of the things of a fish, of a chicken here? Is the real color. Veritas, this is important. This is the color of a nice young rum, but it's not only fresh rum, So apart of this question, you was asking share. I did a big mistake in the share because I didn't realize quickly that I had to do a smaller bottle, 20 cl. Now in my next bottling, that also if this moment in the world is a little bit dangerous, we don't know what happens in the future. But apart this, all my next bottling, many of my best bottling will have also 20 cl bottles. Because to make the experiment of 2 plumber and 2 weatherbrown continental aging and tropical aging, you have to buy 4 bottles, and for me it's too expensive. I realized that I had to do also for the rum lovers the 20 cl. So you can buy at the cost of 1 bottle, a little bit more, the 4 types. This was to show, and I was very, very proud that Karsten of Share did first in the history with me, a company that have more than 300 years, is only to show the deep, because people speak continental, tropical, I prefer continental. You can check. And during the tasting we did in the last 6 before the lockdown, a part of the taste I preferred the continental and the part the tropical. And this is normal. For me, the goal was we speak, and here you can taste. And it's impossible to make exactly the same product, but are very, very similar. And so for me, and I hope to do other things with the Share, but with also 20 cl black bottle of we call Caroni bottles.
Fantastic. I was with a couple of our friends in Germany who I believe are watching now, Stefan and Jürgens, to first let me try those bottlings. And it's fascinating experience. Fascinating to be able to try these things.
The Jamaican teach me one thing, one word, one love. To Today, people is speaking against one to the other. There is space for everybody. I don't like who lie. Tell me this rum is 30 years old and is 30 months. This rum, my master blender did the best, and then you put sugar. If you say there is sugar, very happy. Many people will, I think 60% of consumers prefer, but it's necessary. Two things. First, to be honest. Secondly, the consumer, that is a bad word, the rum lovers, the spirit lovers, need, have a right to have the right to choose when look at a bottle, understand what there is inside this bottle, at least in the different categories, and then everything is okay. One word, one love for everybody.
I love it.
Ian is my young brother, and Ian, I hope to see you very soon. Stefan also. So we have some people listen to us, because I thought we were 2 or 3 people. But this is a very real important thing. I told you today some things that sometimes people copy and paste information. I give you the real information without any secret, without any. If I am from Manchester United and I look at Manchester City, that is Marika, very finally one girl, I am happy. But if I am a Manchester City fan, but Manchester United play very well, I have not to say that play bad, And then there is space for everything and for everybody. It depends also from the money. Because if you sell me a faked 30 years old, made in a column, and cost 500 euros, for me, it's not forcing. This is the reason why you then don't put on the label how was produced this product, Or a liqueur have a different price than a single malt or a single rum. And tropical aging, the evaporation is completely different than in Scotland. But there is any problem about this?
So you wanted to. I don't think Ian's impressed. If you are watching at home, please pour yourself a glass. Join us.
1 second, I take something. I take my small Skeldon. This was the sample I received many years ago. So, you see, I am not able to open.
Wow. I think
Yes.
There's a lot of people around the world now, myself included, who are very sad this isn't happening in person. I'm gonna join you with some last consignment so we can have something nice. Cheers, Luca.
Cheers, thank you. And with Black Tot.
Thank you.
Now, really, I am really appreciated. I tell you, Black Tot is the first example in a direction that I adore. We can, you see, is written Guyanese, Barbadian, Jamaican, without telling if it's distillery 1, distillery 2. But this is a work made by a blender, is a brand, Black Tot. And when I taste, so it's different. Why you have to use a Hamden? You understand why? It's a trademark. This is a brand, is a product. Perhaps in the beginning is a little bit slower, the sales, because easy to sell, say this is for square, this is, and some people say, but we need to track where it comes from. No, because if you enter in this area, I tell you that is not a really Hamden, a really Foursquare, because to use the name Foursquare Hamden, you have to be aged there, you understand? So, but this is a brand. And the product, I find the product is really a best value. So, when in 5 years, Black Tot will surely sell 3 times, 4 times more, it will be a brand forever. You understand? And this is the right way to make independent bottling of wine.
Well, thank you very much. I know Sekinder and Ollie will both be delighted to hear that. We very much look forward to having lots of excuses to visit you in Italy and join you on that. You had a question just pop up there before about the 1954 bottling, which is a new release we saw recently. Can you talk about your RASC 1954 release? And this was very fascinating to me because I saw that this was a Jamaican rum, and yet my understanding of most of the military blends, whether for Navy or Army, were always a blend of multi-countries. So I'd love to know more about this one.
You know, I bought many flagons of this product, and then I decided it's a little bit a hobby, because I produced, I think, 100 bottles or 500 bottles. So it's mainly a hobby, a little bit expensive because not easy to find. But I did the analysis, the GC. I have a GC of all, I think today, of all the rums from distilleries, and not only from distilleries that are today possible to drink. And I did also, and I was very, very sorry, because to make analysis of a Bacardi 1923, you have to lose one bottle that cost a lot of money. But I did, doesn't matter. So when I checked, so I sent sample of my flagons, and I saw a big difference in the congeners between the different flagons. And so some flagons they had a level of ester that was impossible, that they came not from Jamaica. This is the reason, because I put Jamaica. And I know that normally Jamaican rum, were not really very used in the British Royal Navy. But during the war, there was some Jamaican rum inside, and I found few flagons. And after checking all the GC and the congeners, I imagine that is Jamaica. I think is the right information I put on the cask. But apart this, the important is to taste, if it's possible, the products here. I have here one bottle.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, but I produce only 108 bottles. Sometimes when I do this, I make more people angry than happy. And so I say, I don't bottle, but how? I don't imagine that I have a limit, if
so on what were the ester and congener numbers on that one?
Excuse me? Beg your pardon?
The esters and the congeners on
no,
that
the
one.
total congeners. I saw before ester. Total congeners is a average. It's between, I tell you, 900 and 1200. Total congeners, so this one. You have to imagine that the congeners go up with time when there are in the wood less, but there is always an esterification. So probably inside these flagons were, I imagine, 300, 400 congeners in the beginning. The congeners, I can tell you something. To make an example, now I don't speak about the rust, RASC, generally. In my distillery with Capovilla, rum, our white rum, when go out from the still, is about 300 grams hectoliter pure alcohol of congeners. After 4 years, is a 600. To give you an idea of this is the aging. The aging is only this. You understand? The aging is the esterification process, and the total congeners become higher and change also the mix between aldehydes, esters, superior alcohol, and acid fat.
And Luca, would that continue to happen even within a flagon which was relatively airtight compared to, like I've heard of esterification in barrels over time, but in flagons as well, that would continue to happen?
No, it's very, yes, exists always, but it's not relevant.
Right.
It's not the esterification was, I think these rams were, but this is very, the average of a Navy ram were not very old rams. But sometimes we had, as everything, different things. So when I found this, for this reason, I did only these bottles, because I decided to put flagons, and I lost, because at least you have to send 50 ml, 500 ml, 50 centiliter, no, half liter, practically, to have a GC. So you lose a lot. Thing. So in the clay, the esterification is small.
Yes.
I don't know, honestly, I don't know how much. But always, still, also in the bottles, if you drink this Black Tot after 3 years, will be slightly different. And if you go to see the congeners, you see the difference.
Yes, it's fascinating how those blends come together, given enough time.
Aging, apart the influence of wood, is the increase and change of the congeners. Then don't miss that more congeners is better. Also, this is very superficial. You understand? Jan Barrel is 6 feet, but I have a same. But if I will be smaller, I will be always more beautiful than Ian, to make an example. Yeah,
I'm sure Ian would.
No, I'm joking. I mean, it's important. The big difference is if a ram is under 80 grams of total congeners, is an industrial product. Okay, some are zero when are white, multicolor. Then you find rams like single blended that are 120, 130 that have. It's like now I speak about lady because I am a boy, but if not, I speak about a man. But there is an harmony. You understand that you want something very harmonious, gentle, not aggressive, not big things. Then in agricole ram, when our whites are about 300, if have 4 or 5 years are 600 after aging, have a different dimension. And then you arrive to the hyper super congeners, but that don't mean that are better. But it's always to give, because if you taste a Hamden at 1,300, and you make you want to make an experiment, you drink, you don't like. One day, when you look at a ram that indicates the same congeners, you don't buy, or the opposite, you will buy because you like. I was the first to put, because this is history, and I hope there is some writers that remember this. I was one of the first in ram to put the date of distillation and the date of bottling, the first to put tropical aging, the first to put sugar-free, the first to put the esters, the first to put the marks on a label. And this is why, because I like to be simply honest and to inform my customer and give to my customer the possibility to inform their customer. This is very easy. And I think the new generation like this. Then as I told you, you can eat every day McDonald's. I am happy.
Well, I think it's definitely shaped how people look for information now, and certainly looking at you missed 3 inches apparently.
So I could do the example. I thought to be I am 6'1", probably 6'2", I don't know. Also, less congeners could be better and better.
I think there's another question in there which is probably worth having on camera.
Excuse me, another small thing. The congeners, the different congeners that are already, you see, in a GC analysis. This is how is in English? A resume are not all the congeners. You understand? We have more and more congeners, and here there are totals. Okay, but it's like vitamin C, or milk, the woman milk. If you make an analysis, chemical and physical, of a mother milk and a similar mother milk made not from the mother, chemically and physically could be exactly the same. You understand? Could have exactly the same GC. Also, point of view microbiology could be the same. But if you make a crystallography give the energy of this, you will see two products completely different. The industrial is dead. You understand? You put in a crystallographic and it's like a two, have no movement. If you put the milk of the mother, make a design, fantastic design, you understand? So also the congeners tell you how many esters, because we are limited. The humans look as call esters or something, but the quality of these esters, the quality of these congeners is different. You understand? 2 rum that have exactly the same congeners, first of all, could be completely different as aromatic profile, but also completely different in quality. So, but are indication. You know.
Well, I think that's an analogy no one was expecting, but very good. Very interesting. So we'd like to open up to any questions that we have. We've got quite a few people watching at the moment, and if anyone would like to ask Luca a question, now is your chance. Daniele asks, what about a renaissance of brands made by blenders in the 2020s? I think that's starting to happen.
I will be very happy, first of all, if the Velier Royal Navy become, with Black Tot, the most famous. I'm joking. I think, when I was 18, I went to Martinique first time. Then I heard by bartenders that did the first crisis in Caribbean. I went to Puerto Rico. The best rum in Puerto Rico is Barrilito. I say, what is Barrilito? I didn't know. But there were some names. The URM. URM was a very famous United Rum Merchant in the UK. For me, when I was 18, Lemon Heart, Lamb's Navy, were names in my imaginary cautions. I was, what is this? No, this is my wife. Excuse me, wife.
Is she faxing you?
No, I don't know, but it's calling me. And, checking if I am doing what I'm doing. I'm drinking Scaldon 78. And so, what I was saying about let's say, some brand of Myers. The problem is the Lemon Heart of today is not the Lemon Heart. I have the bottles of Lemon Heart of the 60s, the bottle of the Lamb's Navy of the 60s, and Myers of the 20s. They are different, but it's fantastic. These were named so that mythical. So in the 20s, so I answered to her. Cosca disappeared. And so I will be very happy if in 2032, I hope to be not a breathing robot, first of all, with the nano chip inside, but I will be so happy if Black Tot is a must, is a brand, and other new brands like this. Yes, I hope. But I am I know so well my Caribbean distilleries that I am a fan of Caribbean distilleries. So from Luca Gargano or Rookie, you don't will find many Velier Royal Navy. Sometime once every some years. I prefer to do a it's not but to participate, to do something fantastic at the distillery, and we will have the Appleton coming, the new Foursquare, new distilleries. This is my dreams, my goal for the future.
Wonderful.
Yes, Marcus.
The captain all the way from Adelaide in Australia.
Marcus, I am Italian, so we have Chianti, Barolo, Parmigiano Reggiano. We know very, very well what means terroir. In Italy, yes, 1 second. Emily cosa fa?
Ti stavo scrivendo.
Excuse me, because...
Alia sta venendo a prenderla, non sale perché fa cucina.
Okay. I have my daughter, Emily, vieni qua. Will be the next CEO when I will retire in the next 30 years. This is my Emily, Africa.
Hello.
Ciao, hello. So, I tell you something. I do a new project with Nason. What we will do with Nason, we will bottle first time in the history outside the Paul Carré, the typical Nason bottle. We will bottle a Nason 2016 that was aged for 4 years in 3 different cellars at 100 yards distance. And these 3 products are different, completely different. And for the first time in rum, we will put the hygrometric information, means the temperature average in centigrade, and the humidity. And you will see that the same product distilled from the same fantastic Sabal column of a Nason, aged in the same type of barrels, but only 100 meters make a difference. So the terroir is the cultural output of an area that depends from the raw material you use since long time, the technique of fermentation, technique of distillation, of aging, the spirit of the producer also, you understand? So the wind, the soil, the sun, the humidity, everything. And this make a product unique. And when this product become known, so people from Siberia will buy 1 bottle of Barbados rum, means that have reached a knowledge outside this country. So make proud this country. So it's very important that is a GC, but the GC is not something to protect, but is a very noble movement to recognize a cultural background. At this stage today, not 200 years ago or 1,000 years ago. In the wine in Italy, we did wines in the Romans using honey. But the Brunello di Montalcino GI have not a honey, you cannot use. But you can make a wine with honey, and you will call wine with honey. In Barbados, you can do what you want. You can age it in every barrel, no problem. But it's not a Barbados GI because it's not a cultural output of this country or from Jamaica, you understand? Any innovation is possible to innovate. Perfect. Perhaps in 300 years, if people... a glass of water and 1 coffee, excuse me. So, but today, why the Barbados rum is famous? Why Jamaican rum is famous? Why Mauritius rum is famous? So is the actual techniques. That is the GI. Today, this is the cultural output of these countries. Point. Then you can produce in Barbados, in Jamaica, in Mauritius, everywhere, what you want, and it will be always a rum, but not a Barbados GI or AOC, as say the French, or DOC are small different, but it's the same story, you know. So it's absolutely important that every country protect its product. You could not take a Macallan single malt, come to Genoa, I age in Genoa, and I call Scottish single malt Macallan, you know, and Parmesan cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano, you could not, perhaps it's better, I don't say that it's not better. Perhaps if you age whiskey as Kavalan, to make an example, in Taiwan, tropical weather, you won many prizes. So in the future, perhaps Nason will age some whiskey. Perhaps some people could find better than a Scottish single malt, but it will never be called Scottish single malt. You understand? This is the difference. So everybody, and this is a misunderstanding about the GI. GI don't forbid to produce, to make innovation, to make what you want if you have a distillery in a country. But this is not a Barbados GI or Jamaica GI or Mauritius GI, because it's not in the cultural output that in 2020 is the reason why this product is known all over the world. This is my personal opinion, but I am a big expert in GI because I am Italian. I work in the wine, and so we know very, very well what means a GI. You understand? And for instance, until now, and probably also in England, in Italy, we have cherries now. Now it's cherries period, and we have a cherry from Vignola. Vignola is a small village near Reggio, near Ferrari, near Modena, and it's a unique cherry. And you could not, you can have the same type, varietal, but in Genoa is different. And Vignola cherry is protected. We have many types of garlic, 5 types that are protected. You understand? Reality. And this is the pleasure to find something that is original and unique. Absolutely. This is not a black coffee, but Italian. Put some scaldon inside. This is a very snob, the last drop.
It's a very good cup of coffee.
In a coffee. Now I will receive 10 points less as a rum expert. He put scaldon 78 in an espresso. Samargo.
In espresso.
Yaroslav, now, good evening. Now I am blocked, as you know. We can't. I had to go in January. I postponed, and then we were in the jail. If there are no mandatory vaccination, that I will never do, I will go to Colombia as soon as possible, but depends from the rains. So I have to wait probably until October, if God let me go.
That's very exciting.
Vice is very interesting, very interesting. The problem of Vice is that until now is a very low ABV, because they make really a home distillation practically, you know. So now I suggest them to this community to make a double distillation to increase the ABV. What does Keegan, my friends of the Ian Farrell
runs from sugarcane juice.
Okay, interesting question. Point of view legally, I 10 years ago I asked to my lawyers. Some lawyers think that could be used, but officially not. And who tried to use was, for instance, for a while, Mauritius did, and they were they lost in the tribunal. Because today, agricole, everybody knows that agricole means a rum coming from pure sugarcane juice. But what they discovered some years ago, and I don't know if in Jamaica, they did also pure sugarcane juice rum, and they still do secret distillery that is doing this in a mark. And they call it sugarcane. The sugarcane used to the central, to the factory to make sugar. And they called rum cane. The canes that they were used to make rum. And until now, if you go in the country in Jamaica, and they went the 3rd of March, my last trip, the old people cutting the cane, they know this. Sugar cane, rum cane. So I trademarked the rum cane, but then I will give it to everybody. I think it could be interesting. Call a rum coming from fresh sugarcane juice, from rum canes. When you say from rum canes, means that with these canes were used to make rum, so it was fresh. I think it could be a nice idea. I trademarked it only because I would like to say I was the guy, but then I will give to everybody who would like to use from rum cane. I think it's interesting. Think about where I am.
There was a very interesting example when I was in Australia. A lovely distillery there, Husk, that grows all their own sugarcane.
I imported the husk.
The beautiful, beautiful rum.
Yeah.
Quentin, the distillery is obviously from Martinique. And they have an interesting issue where in Australia, two-year minimum age limit to be able to call rum. So if you release an unaged agricole style rum, you can't call it rum. And so they called it an Australian agricole. But then over here, they can't call it agricole, so they have to, but they are able to call it rum. So depending on where in the world you get their rum from.
You see, it's necessary to make a change in the legislation of Australia, and not only Australia, because you have other countries like Venezuela and others say aguardiente and rum. This was arrived when rum was produced industrially. So ethanol is not a rum. For me, it's never a rum. Also, when it's 30 Solera years or 300 Solera years. But apart this, today the future of rum, I'm sure in mixology, and also, I bottle a lot of white rums that today nobody buy, or few people buy apart Clairin. But the rum, come from sugarcane. Sugarcane is not a cereal. Cereal, if you take some wheat, some corn, no smell. You have the malting to have the sugar to make the fermentation. Rum is a grass. It's like it's closer to an apple. Apple, I mean, apple that you eat. Close to an apple than a cereal. So it's very aromatic, have a lot of essential oils and congeners, also congeners before being congeners. So the white rum is the future. If you drink a Sukinder, that is not here, never come when I do I don't know why he's too busy, or he spent 1 week with me in Caribbean and it was enough for him, probably.
He talks about
I'm joking, but this is the difference. When rum was ethanol, some countries protected rum, and then protected also from the moonshine product that was very, very tasty and very, very good. So this is aguardiente, it's not rum. But today, the white rum is the future, also for sipping. I adore to sip a Sajus. You understand? It's fantastic. Sometimes I like to taste, to drink a sip of Scaldon, but why not? Ah, thank you, Sukinder. I love you very much. Without picture, I don't know if it's really Sukinder, and without it's strange this picture. Now it's a standardization also of the heads, and you can put only muscles. Muscles is not a problem, and so I think all this country, Australia, is a country with no many inhabitants. It will be necessary to make some good lobbying and say why is not possible to call rum a fresh rum coming from a fantastic sugar cane from our fantastic soil. I think it's no good. This no.
So, would you have globally an acceptance that unaged rum would still be rum regardless of where it was? There's no minimum age requirement?
No, but why there is a age? Rum. If you want. Now, I hope that you accept that after lockdown and everything, let me be a little bit stupid. If you want a nice young lady under 23, you have to drink a white rum. A fresh rum. A fresh rum, I mean artisanal fresh rum. Not fresh in the sense white, young rum. Because the sugarcane have a lot of primary perfumes. If you drink a Clairin just outside the still, and Sukinder told me when came with me in Haiti, said, look at the Clairin Ancien no more than 18 months, because then you lose the primary perfume and then become another product, as all the spirits, especially rum. So if you drink our Liberation rum, and you drink rum white, it's very different. But if you want a nice young lady, means that have the perfumes, have the expression, have a movement, you drink a white rum. If you want a 30 years old lady with culture and everything, you drink a rum between 4 and 8 years old. This is the perfect age, You are still young. Now, in the meantime, you learn something, you have a culture, because you stay 4-6 years in a barrel. Especially I speak about distillery aging in the Caribbean with angel share between 6 and 10%. When you drink this Skeldon, and one thing that make me very sad is when people say, this Caroni is a little bit woody. He stayed 22 years in the Caribbean with a temperature of 32 degrees. It's like to see your grandmother or Teresa of Calcutta. You understand? This is important. You can't drink a real old rum and think to be with a young lady. It's not a young lady. It's something that you have to sip, and every drop you go back to imagine when you was small and you see your grandmother, you see an old picture of your grandfather. You understand? It's a completely different experience, and this is a little bit why the continental aging for me accustomed, but it's not fault of the continental bottlers, because for many years you had not a qualified production apart agricole rum vintages of distillery. So if you want to taste a real hamlet, you have to have a continental. So it's also important to understand this. We are lucky, but if you taste a 4 years old or 6 years old, 8 years old continental aging, you accustom your palate to a different taste, no? Means that is important to understand what a rum more than 12 years in Caribbean is your grandmother, in the good sense, you understand? But you have to relate yourself with your grandmother. In different than a young lady, you do different things with the two person, and the same with the two different rum. Then a continental aging, this is an advantage in a certain way, you can drink a continental aged rum of 15 years that in effect against the real one is younger. You understand?
Yeah.
The problem is only originality, authenticity, but sometimes it's very interesting also, but depends what you look for.
I found these were a very good example of that, where in the 11 year, the tropical aging for me, jumped out and was markedly better than the 11 year continental. And then when it got to the 14 year, I actually found the continental was actually much more enjoyable, the wood hadn't overtaken it as much. So there was, just in those 3 years, there was such a difference between.
Depends also from your cultural palate, you understand? Your cultural palate evolves with experience. So if you have drunk the last 10 years more continental aging, is normal. You have this taste, In my house, when my wife changed my olive oil, what happens? It's not the same, because I am accustomed with this olive oil, you understand? And it's not my taste. Perhaps it's better than you want, but it's not what is in my cultural palate, you understand? So, but I agree what you say, and this is nice, that when, and I repeat, when I speak about continental aging and tropical aging, I speak about authenticity, originality. You understand? Yeah. Not about the quality and the taste that is very subjectable. I don't know if it's possible to say subjectable, means depends from you. You understand? And we are very happy that we don't love all the same girl. If not, it will be really a war. So this is nice, and we have different backgrounds, different tastes, different things. You understand? And we have to respect all of these. Absolutely. But I am a gourmet, and I like authenticity. I don't like girls with the maquillage, makeup. Some people like, or with the big, how is the name? This one, the big things they put here. What is the name?
It's,
how you call it? The shoes that you become taller. You have some. What you have?
Stilettos. Stilettos.
The women have shoes and they have something here. What is the name?
The heel.
How is
heel?
This thing. I don't like it. Other people like. You understand? So I like, for me, authenticity, originality is something that I have already a pleasure. If I find a real chicken, bicycle chicken in Togo, I like, because this is other people likes these things, needles. I don't know how you call this thing in the shoes, and this is perfect.
So we've had some wonderful analogies today. It's thinking about rum in a whole new light today. Do we have any exciting new things coming up in Velier that you could share with us today? Are there any previews you could drop on the rum world right now?
But I have many news. I would like to have another one, but I don't know. Richard didn't send me. I love that you have partnered with Privatier. Thank you. I really adore Privateer.
Maggie's wonderful, isn't she?
Maggie's fantastic, and then he's practically a master of wine. Like Dawn are people that really are gourmet. I like the gourmet people. I like very much Maggie, and I think Privateer is still a young distillery in a certain way. Will be better and better and better. Like Nine Leaves, I think also Nine Leaves in Japan will be better and better. My new project, I told you, the Nason project, and then I have the biggest. I made love with the last pot still I never did. That is Appleton, and I think in September we will release at least one of the three vintages in 1994 or 1995 or 1999. I will do also the 20 centiliters Caroni bottles for them. And it's first time that Appleton bottle a vintage 100% batch distillation, double pot still, double retort, and in a different bottle of the official one in our bottle. And I had the honor with Joyce Pence that I adore. When I saw the picture of Joyce Pence in the Appleton visitor center when she was graduated, I said, this is my wife. Oh, really? When I saw it, I said, this is my perfect, I adore this woman, this girl at that time. And so I'm very, very happy. This is like to arrive to the Everest, to the Everest, the big mountain. I will never, perhaps for me, it's more than Caroni. I never thought to arrive to bottle, to choose, to go in this fantastic warehouse, taste so many barrels, different marks, because then Appleton was bought by Campari, so multinational. I think I will never deal with them. At the end of the story, I was able, and now we will release. Ciao, aspetta una cosa, mi fai un caffettino prima di andarsene? And my few employees are going. And so for me, this is at the top. And then I wait the new Foursquare. I hope that, I don't know if Richard is around. I don't think so. But if he's, I will call him tomorrow and I hope he send me some samples. But normally he chooses the product. I only taste after. I have a Nason project, as I told you before, always with the new 20 cl bottles. Yes, and we have two projects to make two new small distilleries, and one in Jamaica, and one with to do something with Nason. And so we have many things. I have here some of these, for instance, these but are a single cask. This is an Leaves 2016, very, very, very good.
Fantastic.
We have this is the oldest high ester. Is the oldest Savannah. Is the last barrel of hair. Is the cask 515, and it was also really a big pleasure because it's like a tribute to Velier. That means that all distillery understand that because I am mainly an importer, you understand? I was an importer historically in my family. So a real importer of all time is the flagship of a brand in a country like Italy. So my pleasure is more to give the right light to the brand owner, to the distillery. And for me, perhaps this habit was liked by all the Caribbean distilleries. For this reason, they do something with me and not with others. Once I was, I tell you also which distillery, in Worthy Park, that was completely unknown before I did the first bottling with Foresight, named Foresight. People perhaps used Worthy Park, but say Jamaican rum, because people didn't know Worthy Park. Because Worthy Park restarted to distill in 2005. So, and I went to Zan Kong and Gordon Clark. I arrived to distill and say, Luca, yesterday came an independent bottler here and was asking, give me a cask, please. I say, no, I don't give you a cask. I say, and why Luca and the cask? Luca is Luca. This is a big compliment. After me, only Sukinder is able to. Sukinder, I do the surf, and Sukinder is like, jump arrive and then. I didn't hear you.
I said I look forward to having daiquiris with you both in the same room together. It's going to be a lot of fun that night, I think.
Yeah, surely. And how is Ben Lake? Ben Lake. Bentley, Australian distillery.
Oh, Beanie.
Bentley.
Yes, wonderful. We've got a good
Like
friend there, Steve McGarry, who
Yeah.
has been really doing a wonderful job of putting together a lot of Australian rum history. And everything I've been tasting from them recently is just outstanding.
I have some old bottles of the 50s, fantastic old bottles I bought in Australia.
Wonderful.
And now I'm speaking with them,
Yes.
but there was the lockdown and I'm waiting some samples, and probably will be a next in Habitation Velier, and they will do something with them also.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure Dawn Davies is going to be racing to try and bottle something before you. I'm sure. No, it's fantastic, and it's wonderful to see so much great Australian rum starting to come through. And
But
I
you
think
know,
the production of Australian rum for so long was not something great, and it's starting to get better and better, which is wonderful.
Australia, I think, is the top 10 sugarcane producer in the world.
Yeah.
So it's normal. What is, apart the Muslim country, I am waiting that Australia and Brazil could produce great rums, because they have there is a big production, but there are also many different varietals of sugarcane. So they have a lot of colors, a lot of they can choose, they can do. Already on it, Luca. What is already on it, Luca? What means it?
Got those Beanley samples. She's already ahead. I think she's blocked your delivery. She's rediverted it.
I understand. Next life, I will marry at the dawn, so we will be the first.
Why wait?
But yes, I think Australia could. I started. You have seen. I did 2 years ago the Ocean Still, the Indian Ocean, and I think the South Hemisphere could now, in Tahiti, in Hawaii, there are many areas producing rum, and there is a bright future for the South Hemisphere. Now I tasted the new Amrut white rum.
Yes.
Don't send an email to them. Wait, I send you the samples. And the last, they did a rum cane, rum cane, in the past named Agricole, and it's very good. They did, now they are doing, before I tasted, they did with Jaggery, and I did the Indian Ocean Still, not for Sukinder, but also for Sukinder. I put a small elephant on the labels, but mainly to have Indian rum. But when I tasted the Amrut Jaggery, was not honestly at my Velier level, and I did only the Mauritius and the Réunion. Now the last sample I received is very, very good. In the next few years, we will have the Indian rum in Velier.
Wonderful. Exciting. And we were, Sekinder and I were talking about India rum possibilities earlier. It's very exciting.
My dream will be to make a distillery with Sukinder.
Well, you heard it here first.
I put the money and I put my impulse.
Sounds like a very good deal.
No, I adore India. I really adore India. I am afraid. Please.
No, this was the question I was asking, because you've covered so many frontiers of rum. Like you brought Demerara rum to the main stage. You brought Caroni rum. You've now brought Clairin. Is there a final frontier of rum? Is there like an area we haven't uncovered yet? Or I
traveled all around the world. I am also a traveler. I know all Africa and everything. There are a few countries that I didn't visit. I did a calculation. I did more than 400 times in a Caribbean island. Not 400 trips, but 400 times I did immigration.
Wow.
And I decided to don't go to India. Why? I say, one day I will have 6 months sabbatic, because India have a culture. I don't like go like for a touristic vacation, go 1 week. What you do 1 week in India? So in my life, I say, no, in India, I wait the day I could stay long time. And then for Amrut and La Maison de Whisky and Thierry, I had to go to India 2 years ago. It was my first time in India. And then I went last year. And India is my love. My love, really. I would like to spend 1 year in India. And I think the people is so human. You feel the human. For me, are the Mediterranean of Asia. The Japanese are a little bit the English, but the Indians are the Italians of Asia. And so they have to do a fantastic rum, when you have this spirit and this spirituality also. If you go for the quality, they can do the best, as they do in many areas.
I think that's very exciting idea. So it would be wonderful to be in the making rum together. It would be lovely.
My dream.
It's wonderful. So do we have any final questions coming through before we wrap up this evening? We've got a question about some Japanese rum, which you mentioned before, the 9 leaves. What is your opinion? You mentioned you've got a wonderful 9 leaves, but what is your...
I think, Yaroslav, I think that 9 leaves probably released too early his rums, and then he make really a single malt style distillation, because he, as you know, is a double distillation. One still is like Shishibu, and the other one is like Gremorangi. But now I was in November, and I can tell you that now the 9 leaves, 4 or 5 years old, is very, very interesting. What is very Japanese as incredible, because every year I meet Yoshiharu Takeuchi. Yoshiharu is the less Japanese that I know. Is not, for me, is not Japanese. He's from Naples. He's a really Mediterranean, but he's a great guy. And every year I ask, how many barrels you have now, Yoshiharu? Told me 30 barrels. After 1 year, I say, how many barrels you have? 50 barrels. I say, how is possible 20 barrels in 1 year? Perhaps I have not well understand. And then when I went to see him, I understand why. Yoshiharu Takeuchi is the only employees of 9 leaves. He do everything, from reception of the raw material, accounting, distilling, fermentation, aging, worker, blue collar. Is the only. This is very Japanese. And I told him, but your wife could help you to. No, never come here, because there is a special Shintoist god that don't like women. She do everything alone. It's the only distillery in the world. Also Sajus or Casimir, another. There's only one person that do everything. Is so, you go in Japan and you find a restaurant with 5 places, 5 seats, and perhaps there are 20 persons outside. Say, why you don't do 30 seats? No, 5. And the chef is preparing in front of you. And Yoshiharu is incredible. He's the person that know better his product. He do everything. For this reason, could not produce. It's impossible. The 20 barrels are 4,000 liters. You do in a few days. And the last now, he has 2 grappa casks and some Mizunara that are great products. 2021 will be the 9 leaves year for rum lovers.
Wonderful. I think it's always exciting to hear about a new rum, and I think Japanese rum in general is again one of those new frontiers that would be fascinating to see develop.
The problem of Japan is that the sugar cane in Japan is only in the South Island, in the small South Island of Japan. So practically 9 Leaves use like a jaggery, use like a muscovado, you understand, but of incredible quality from a small island, very Tarama island, and these people make this sugar is not sugar, it's muscovado. It's like a super concentrated syrup that is used by very famous chocolate producers, small in Paris. In beginning, you say, but you distill from sugar. No, it's not from sugar. It's more complex. Very interesting 90s in the next years. If the rum lovers will increase, because the flexibility of rum is very important. Yeah. But from a single rum, do you think Caruquera, that you know everything, Maxime Smilga, I have bottled, perhaps I have a bottle here. No, it's in my office. No, it's here, yes. Look, already is bottled, but it's in a Guadeloupe. Now I have to arrive. This is very outstanding also, because sometimes, you see, why I have to buy a cask from a distillery and put my name? Why? Or put a special bottling? The reason to do this is if you find something that is not in the standard of distillery. Richard, for instance, and I thank you very much, Richard, choose something that is different from his average, and it is already a very top level. So I will never bottle a Caruquera when I want to sell in Italy Caruquera, the official bottling, and this is also an official bottling. Because also for one cask, and remember this, because many people speak, and then do, the action is different. My thinking, my speaking, and my action are exactly the same. I've sent for 200 bottles, I don't know if I 312 bottles. I produce everything, I send everything to Guadeloupe, and now I have to come back. But this is to maintain the originality of a product. And this cask, named L9, if I well remember, was a unique. And when something is unique, have a sense to separate from the other and give it to the rum lovers. Why I have to find a normal cask of Caruquera and do this, when you can drink a good Caruquera in the official bottling? When I did the Antigua distillery, this Antigua was completely different because the still was broken, so fermentation went ahead for 1 week more, so they had more congeners. And my Antigua is completely different from English Harbor, so there is a reason. And also this is an official bottling. And I did the packaging, but all the packaging went to Antigua and then come back. See, this is, perhaps in some years, people will better understand what I did, and I will do in rum.
I think everyone's very appreciative of what you've done already. And we've got a question from Kate Perry, actually, which is, what would excite you to see in the future releases of Black Tot? What would you like us to do?
What? Black Tot?
What would excite you?
What would a site look like to see in the future release of Black Tot? But I think this product, for my opinion, is the perfect product to catch all the rum lovers that don't want something too extreme, and they need also an interesting price, because then there is also the wallet, no? It's very, very well done. And for me, is a real rum that compete with other brands like Diplomatico, can be in this area, and but it's a real one, no sugar, and so and so. In the future, perhaps, but only to show the art of blending and to find good barrels. And I think that Karsten and Sukinder are two outstanding taster for everything, and perhaps, you know, I prefer a little bit higher proof, make an edition a little bit higher proof, or make blend from different islands also, you know.
That would be giving it
to make an example. I'm sure I remember when about 30 years ago I was studying the Navy rum. Was in the 90s, about Demerara. Now it's a long time, I don't go, but if I well remember, Australia rum was used in the Navy rum, so it could be also interesting to make a blend with Australia or other island, you know, not only from Caribbean, and could be also interesting and give a different profile. The important is to don't make product too similar, and then this brand is young, so in beginning I will not put many other things, because this Black Tot needs some years to become the brand, you know. So you need sometimes that the brand awareness increase. When brand awareness arrives to a certain level, you can do, or anyway you can do different style. And there is many colors to make different drawing. And then there is the degree that play, and then there are the barrels that can play in the aging. And then if you want, you can put some sugar. No, the British Royal Navy rum have never sugar inside. If Sukinder will never put sugar there. The problem is that you see, is to be recognized. This is a problem for me, because today, how you understand when a bottle, when a box is on the shelf, is naked, you know, when it's in my hand and I am a seller, employees of a whiskey exchange shop, I can explain this bottle. But when this bottle is in the shelf, is alone. When you are alone, so, and is alone among products that are completely different. But how you can understand? When I came to whiskey exchange shop in downtown, I saw a disposal of rums, really, excuse me, but not at the right level. It's important, if the label are not so clear as have to be, it's important that a consumer, a rum lover arrives, and perhaps you have the agricole rums together, okay, at least. But to divide in the type of rums, and my classification could help this, and the new whiskey exchange classification that is practically the same also. I don't know if you have changed it or if whiskey exchange changed, but it's important that this product is among product of this category and not confused with other products that have nothing to do with him.
Yeah. It's one of those things that we're trying to. I think Black Tot is sort of filling an interesting niche, which, you know, it is not quite where a lot of the other blends are. It's not quite where some of the very funky, intense single origins are, and it's an interesting blend to see. I think a lot of people are finding an interesting place with it.
The big deal, you see, what I say many times is fog in the Caribbean. what means fog in the Caribbean? How a consumer can drive in this world. This makes slower and slower the development of rum. You understand? Now, this rum is the equivalent of a high-end blended or vatted, not blended whiskey. Okay? And there is a space. It's also practically a new category. It's very honest, very well done. It's a really a rum without sugar. So I have a specific place, you understand, in the. But today, his competitors are practically completely different, with sweeteners, with sugar, and so and so. So this is for gourmet people, and these not it's not extreme, but this is the reason why it could have a success. But in the whiskey, it's very easy to understand if I drink a blended, a single malt, what I'm drinking. In rum, and there is no sugar at all. In rum, it's a little bit more difficult because all the bottles are together. You don't understand. But anyway, I speak like this because I am also the importer of Black Tot in Italy. So I was paid to do this.
Well, we very much appreciate all your support on it, and yeah, we hope it is for the gourmet lovers of rum as well out there, and we hope it's something that people are going to enjoy putting their cocktails, doing neat, and everything else in between. So
flexible. I think it's very flexible as product. You can use in cocktail. I really when I tasted, was very close with my share. When I was seeing Karsten, I went to Liverpool, and it was really, I think, so the Skinner and Karsten did is because it's very, very well done. Very well done. Because it could be appreciated by a woman, by a man in a cocktail. You know, it's very well done. Have no angles. Understand? No angles.
Thank you. Well, Luca, thank you so much for tonight. You've provided some wonderful insights into the rum world, and it's been lovely to be able to pick your brain on Navy rum and get into it as we sort of carry on our quest into the Navy rum world here. And I know there's been a lot of people watching here who've really appreciated and been watching the whole time here. So it's been a real honor to have you on our show, and thank you so much for taking your time to do it.
You to you, all the team, and always only the truth. And now in Italian we say Viva La Libertad. That means Viva the freedom. We have to protect our freedom for next years. We are in a very, very difficult moment.
Absolutely.
Could not understand how the devils are bad. Are few, but are very bad.
Well, we look forward to coming there and celebrating with you again soon, and drinking all this rum in person, including that Skeldon that you've got hiding away there.
Okay. If not, you come to see me here. Okay. Ciao. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Luca. Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. If you get the chance, we'll see you very soon. We've got some wonderful new guests joining us very soon on Black Tot Rum Club. We have a purser from the Royal Navy themselves who handed out the top for 9 years, who'll be joining us next. So please stay tuned. Follow Velier if you aren't already. Follow Black Tot Rum if you're not already. And please, if you enjoyed today, share it with all your friends and let them know what you enjoyed today. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Luca Gargano. Thank you, Velier. And we will see you all very, very soon. Thank you.